Hello, and welcome to the Footy Podcast. To benefit Here's Help. Here's Help is a nonprofit comprehensive rehabilitation and educational agency that's been providing treatment services in South Florida since 1968. For more information on Here's Help or Footy's podcast, you can contact us at 305-685-8201. If you need help or know someone who has a substance abuse or alcohol problem, you can call our admissions office at 305-685-8201, extension 224. If you'd like to make a cash donation to Here's Help and join the fight against drug abuse, call Footy at 305-685-8201, extension 227. Now, here's Footy.
Hi, I'm Footy, and welcome to the Footy Podcast, which is along with my co-host, Ron Hersey, our Chris, who's normally with us. We're proud to announce that he has now found himself a job.
Very excited for him.
Yeah, and it's so he continues to progress, and he continues to start to rebuild a life for himself, and he's just the nicest kid.
He really is. His stories, we spoke last week at great length about his whole story and how he wound up here, and it's quite a story. It's very compelling. You say this all the time, people sitting in their ivory towers sharing a vape pen at a party, thinking they know what the marijuana world is really like, have no idea the toll it takes, and the real reason is the money. It's just there's so much money involved that it just
but let's talk about that for a minute. Weed is one franchise,
right?
Okay. There's there's a whole litany of other things that people abuse and take and forge and morph and do everything else with it.
Right.
The real thing is it's not the substance.
Right. That's just a product to move.
The weed didn't run down the street and jump on somebody's back.
Right.
What happens is, and then they lace weed with a lot of different things now. It's people have a tendency to rank the whatever the source is, and that's like saying, well, I'm drinking beer, not scotch. It's the same thing. There's nothing different, and
only wine.
Yeah, and it'll evolve. It continually. It's almost like an infection. It evolves and it moves and it gets, I think when I was a young lad, I was introduced to opiates. To me, the other stuff was a waste of time.
Right.
And it was the guy that introduced me and my brother to it. I know his name was Gary Manoff, and he lived in the Bronx, and he lived in Parkchester, like the co-op type place, and we were all good friends, kids, and he evolved up somehow or another. Next thing you know, he spread it to us.
Sure.
So, and then it goes, because it really, in many ways, substance abuse is an infectious disease. It goes from one person to the next. Well, think about yourself. When was the first time you had a drink?
Well, I can't even remember. But I was young. I was underage.
You get my point.
Yeah,
it's just you start small and you work your way up and you go. Right. I, of course, didn't take that path. I went right to the top, and but I was fortunate enough to have a really great lawyer, and I was fortunate enough to be sent to a place called, at the time, it was Nassau County Narcotics Commission, and they didn't have programs. They had. Somewhere in Louisville, they had some kind of federal prison to put people in, but no, and we didn't. And they had out on the West Coast, they had place called Synanon, but that was like you had to live there. But I was fortunate enough to be diverted, which made many of the law enforcement community very unhappy. And no, they came. They told me, we're going to get you. Because I was under the supervision of Dr. Victoria Sears. She was a pioneer, and she, in my mind, saved my life. And I spent 2 years with her. But they were waiting. They told her, we're going to get him. He's got to come out of that blanket one day, and we're going to get him.
That's funny, you know. My wife Lori and I were watching a previous podcast, and we were talking about this. You were talking about this story, and she was like, "Well, why were the cops waiting?" And I was like, "You don't understand. In 1968, 1969, recovery centers. Number one, there weren't any, and number two, the whole recovery concept was not very well thought of. The general prevailing wisdom, especially among law enforcement, was you're an addict because you wanted to be.
Shut up and get in the cell.
You made this choice, and now you've got to
shut
live
up,
with
get in the cell. Oops, sorry, I hit your head on the top of the cell there.
Yeah, watch your head when getting in the back of the car.
Yeah." So it's very true.
Yeah.
But I was fortunate enough to get my lawyer, Bertram Gelfand, rest in peace. He through my stepmother, he got me diverted to the program. I was out on Long Island.
What a lucky break.
Yeah, you got that right.
I mean, that was.
But you know what happened? I was under her supervision for 2 years.
Right.
They didn't have this 2-week deal going up when I was around.
Well, number one, just the fact that you were able to get into a program when there aren't that many, and it wasn't that well.
Yeah, they didn't even call them programs.
But the odds of those, even by today's standards, to be honest, the odds of getting to a program that actually had some merit and actually worked was almost completely impossible in those days. It's you as well as I know, when you get to most centers, it's a crapshoot whether it's actually.
Oh yeah.
So that was synchronicity, man.
Well, but when I went in, I was part of what they call the original 7. There was 7 of us that got diverted, and there was a guy named Joe Salvaggi who was a mentor to me. Buddy Moran, who got arrested for dropping a body in this parking lot. No, he get this story. He hadn't been drafted yet, but one of his friends got drafted, went to Vietnam, was home on leave or finished his tour of duty, whatever it was. So they went to celebrate, and they went over to Buddy's house, and they all started shooting up, and the guy OD'd and died. So they didn't know what to do with him, so they put him in the trunk of the car, and they dropped him in a parking lot. And
Wow.
but the cops put 2 and 2 together,
Right.
and they arrested him. You know what they arrested him for? Littering. He got a fine. He didn't even get life. If it was me, they would have given me life. But they.
That's so sad.
Yeah.
Littering.
Yeah. Well, it happened quite often.
Right. Well, there is like a statute. I don't mean maybe not in New York.
It's a littering. It's littering. You're not you can't just take a body and.
Right. Well, there is
dump it
like
somewhere.
illegal disposal of a body. Or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
But just littering like the guy was
I had
trash, you know?
another guy. I knew another guy named O'Brien.
Terrible.
He went to the beach, but he was like a hippie. When they were just starting to get going, and he went to the Joe's Beach on Long Island, and he went with a girl and a couple of other guys, and they were like meth. Wow. I really didn't even understand what it was. Okay, but anyway, they went to the beach. Guy OD'd and died right on the beach. So you know what they did? They took the blanket and put the blanket over and left.
Wow.
Somehow or another, they put 2 and 2 together. But again, it was a littering.
That's
charge.
crazy. I mean, sad when.
Dr. Sears was a little upset at Brady at the time. I looked at him. I'll never forget what I said to him and a bunch of others. They started taking drugs that I didn't really know, want, or understand. Psychedelics and methadone, all this kind of stuff. And I said to them one time, we were in group counseling, and He said, you're never going to find me doing any of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, well, why not? And I said, I'm crazy enough now. I don't need chemical enhancement like you guys do.
But it's interesting that you actually had a line that you would not cross. I mean, like I said, you went right to opiates, so it wasn't like you. Yeah. But LSD was like you weren't going.
LSD and all that methamphetamine and all that stuff. It struck me as the most ridiculous thing on earth. My view of that stuff was, you're enjoying this? I mean, why would you be doing this? They really are ridiculous substances.
Well, when you think about it, I mean, the whole concept
it's a crazy pill.
Right.
That's what happens. They go crazy. I wouldn't have anything to do with that.
That's very
interesting. And I was like, what? So, but anyway, the great Dr. Sears, every day I think of her, and the second chance she got me in life, and to my credit, I took advantage of it.
I'll say.
Yeah. So anyway, and
then you found yourself here at Here's Help, which started when you got done.
I was a founder.
Right, and I think I said founded, but and we're broadcasting. We're doing our podcast.
I'll tell you that story because it's a good one.
Okay. But I just wanted to segue into the fact that you have this huge campus now, and I've mentioned many times that when I first met you, you just had that little house up here on the corner of 151st and 27th, and now this amazing campus with the Miami-Dade County School, the dorms, and this building, which is the Frank Amadeo built music center.
Yeah, for people who don't know who Frank Amadeo is, he worked with me at Y100 when he was a kid. He was like an intern, and they used to call him phone turkeys. They would answer the phones and stuff, and I got to know Frank, and greatest guy you ever want to meet. Mm-hmm. And he went on to, for those of you who remember Wingdings, well, Frank was critical in all of those things. He was the program director by that time. He allowed it. He helped us get talent, and he got groups to come for nothing. Mm-hmm. Jessica Simpson, this one, that, they were there, and I'd be like, okay, Frank, and I'm getting all the credit.
Yeah. Well, when I came to Y100 with Sonny, Frank had already gone from being like a phone intern. He had just gotten out of like high school, I think. I don't think.
Yeah, he was a young guy.
And by the time Sonny and I got to Y100, he'd already moved up to music director. And one of the first artists that he jumped on that no other radio station jumped on, Frank and Robert Walker, the program director, was this new group, Miami Sound Machine.
Right.
And I remember we jumped right on their first song, and at the time, to be fair, they really
Come
were
on,
just
everybody, let's do the conga.
They were just like a quince. They were basically a wedding band.
They were, yeah.
But
that didn't last long.
But there was a lot of talent there, and so, like you said, that was just another stepping stone. And interesting how
well, Gloria and Emilio have always supported us, and they have given us time, given us resources, given us money. They've done everything that they possibly can to help fund this campus you're describing.
Right.
And if you notice, you go around here, you'll see their picture quite a bit.
Right.
Between that and Dan Marino.
Well, the point I was making was Frank eventually left Y100 to work briefly for Warner Brothers Records.
Right.
And then
which is basically a crook. The job is you're a crook.
But anyway.
But Frank was not a crook.
That's why he didn't last long.
Yeah, he didn't have that bone in his body.
But he did hook up with Gloria and Emilio and became the president eventually of Estefan Enterprises. And then we recently lost Frank just before you went away. And it was, we had to at least mention here on the podcast that because Frank was such a huge supporter of what's going on here.
Here's Help. We have a building named after him. He did so much to help us and to help put this campus you described back together. And he's just always there for you. Real gentle guy, terrific guy, a lot of fun, very smart. I remember going to the record company in Manhattan. It was Frank, and what was his name? The record company guy. No, well, he was the president of the record.
Of Warner?
I forget which one it was, but it was his name escapes me now. Koppelman, Mr. Koppelman, and you notice I called him Mr. Koppelman. And they were great to us. They did a lot of things for us. They would send groups. They would pay to send groups to perform at the Wingding.
Yeah,
for free, for us.
Think about that.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's what built a lot of this that you're describing. Is like you said, this was like a little farmhouse, well, it was actually a PBA building when it first was, but it was a little like.
What's PBA?
Huh?
What's PBA?
Police Benevolent Association.
Oh, okay.
I thought it would be
clubhouse.
I thought it'd be good if we had.
Maybe it would rub off.
Yeah, but no, we did amazing things, and Frank was really people. They used to give me all the credit, but Frank was the impetus for everything. He had the ends with the record companies. We had events. He took concerts. He brought in groups. I mean, he did everything that you could possibly do. And then, rest in peace, 57 years old, one day, boom.
Yeah, heart attack.
Adios, that's it. So, when I think about it, I go, how the hell did I live?
I know. You think about all the crazy stuff we did.
Offshore boat racing.
Auto racing on the I-95.
Yeah. God. Well, we almost got killed in Hialeah on the track.
Many times racing at Hialeah, yeah. But I just was thinking about that Fantasy Fest marathon broadcast we did from different Florida Keys for like a week.
Different resorts.
And we each drove our own cars.
Holiday Isle. The great Joe Roth.
Yeah.
That was one hell of a guy there, boy.
And I remember the great sportscaster Ron Harrison picked us up.
Yeah.
Took us to one of the
bars.
Oh my God, that was that day.
Well, he got one time. Rest in peace. He's a great. He's a very.
I loved Ron.
Yeah, he's a very old school radio guy from Cincinnati, I think.
Old sports.
And he somehow or another got to the Florida Keys, and that's where he lived.
Yeah.
And he used to do these broadcasts on like Friday or Saturday evenings across from Holiday Isle, the other resort there. Yeah, and he would host the shows there, and he would sell them, and he did very good. But Ron, he discovered wave runners or runner.
Mm-hmm.
He got honored at Holiday Isle, and he went out buzzing around, and then it got dark, and he couldn't get back, and it was like out of gas, and the Coast Guard had to come and find him, and I was like, Ron, you got to put fuel in the tank.
They're kind of an offshore kind of a thing, close to shore.
Yeah. You want to have an engine.
You don't want to be out in the ocean.
Yeah. So, but
go to Bimini.
Ultimately, well, I know people who went to Bimini on wave runners.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but they had like the boats that went with them.
Yeah.
So when they ran out of gas and fell overboard, they could get them. But
listen,
Ron Harrison, rest in peace. He only had one kidney for some reason, because he always used to point that out to me while he was having a scotch, and he used to he did that broadcast every week, and then he worked at IOD, right?
Yeah, he drove up.
Every day. Yeah.
We worked together at Jefferson Pilot when he was at 790, I think it was, and we were at Magic. And he drove up from Holiday Isle, from Islamorada every morning.
Yeah.
And
you know what the key was?
No.
He drove home, and at the Monroe County line, there were on the Miami side. There was that big liquor store, and he used to stop.
The Last Chance.
Last Chance. He used to get in there and tell you he was the last chance.
He was.
Well, anyway, his wife, I don't know what happened with her. Felt bad for her because she was trying to reform him, and I used to sit there going, You always need.
Well, not at his age. Well, we want to end everything on an up note, so what we
Okay.
want to do is...
Well,
thanks, Footy.
Yeah.
What we want to do is take a short break, and then we want to come back because we got to follow up on all the build-up to your getaway. We want to get the latest update on your getaway. We'll be right back.
Can't find your favorite footy sauce? Stop by your local Publix where shopping is a pleasure and ask the manager where to find the world's greatest wing and hot sauce. All proceeds benefit Here's Help in the fight against drug abuse.
well, I just got back from my annual Christmas. I don't want to call it ritual.
Pilgrimage?
Pilgrimage. That would be a great. That would be a great term.
Well, there's been a lot of build-up. We've talked about it for several podcasts, and about the fact that the pandemic had pretty much ruined your live holiday performance.
Oh, they think they did.
Well, fill us in.
Yeah. Well, I'm a Christmas guy. Like, I really love Christmas, but I don't like the gatherings and the stuff. I just like to get away. And my favorite place to get away is either the Bahamas or, in this case, Città Atlantico, as we in Italian would say. She's Atlantic City. So, and Atlantic City is, of course, in New Jersey on the coast. So I had A.J. Dewey, former Miami Dolphin, is my casino host. Like, so. But that sounds bad, but really what it is, in many ways, it's a way to get a free vacation, okay, and it's have a good time. And so, but I was hearing all kinds of different things from people, it's closed, this, that, and the other thing. Well, I'm not to be deterred easily. So, and one of my annual pilgrimages is around the Christmas holidays, not on Christmas, but usually like before it, not after, because there's too much football. So you have to have before. And I get a room, I get a hold of AJ, and I prefer Caesar's Palace on Atlantic City, right on the boardwalk. Nothing like walking on that boardwalk for me. And so I'm getting ready for my my annual trip, and AJ books me into Caesar's. He got me I couldn't believe this. He got me a complete room, like a bedroom, giant bed, TV, bathroom, everything. Then there was a big living room with like dining tables and bathrooms and all that kind of stuff.
So you got the high roller suite.
Then the last room we was a high roller, like you say. I was saying, AJ, why would I need 3 bedrooms and 3, So anyway, I go, and one of my friend of mine who I grew up with, he usually comes down to meet me and visit and everything. But I went like in December 12th, maybe, because I always try to miss the crowd to go before everybody got there. And I did. There was nobody there. But people were like out of their minds because they thought everything was shut down. And a lot of it is shut down. The restaurants in the hotel are shut down. The cafe in the lobby, for those of you who are familiar with the Caesars Atlantic City, that's open 24 hours a day. The bar closes at 10 o'clock at night. So but it's real simple. Just go to the gift shop and buy your own bottles and put them in your room. So if that's what you plan on doing. So anyway, so I'm now in Atlantic City, and I play. I'm not a. How can I say this? I'm not a big gambler, but when I gamble, I go all the way. I explain this. My father, in when he was in the Army, all he did was play cards. So he became quite a card player. Plus, he's a math guy.
Oh, okay.
So he always taught me the math. He used to actually, can you imagine this? He used to give us, poker.
Like tutorials?
Yeah.
On poker?
Training.
How old were you?
From, 9 on. And no, but he saw that as number one. You had to think, and that was big with him.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, and he was a math guy, so he had to think. If we would play, me and my brothers would play with my father. At the end of the night, we're broke. Every single time, no matter what. Paying pennies, quarters, whatever it was, we're broke. So I got a pretty good tutorial on it, and he made me learn the math. Like, in other words, if you draw that card, it's like 3-1 or whatever it happens to be.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so I'm up there, and I love to go. There's a place called the White House in Atlantic City. It's the place where they make the Philly cheesesteaks sandwiches, and they make them on a loaf of bread. Like you ask for a half, they give you a half a loaf of French-looking bread. If you want a whole, you get a whole loaf. And they've been in operation up there since like the 1900s, 1920s. And it's the same family. Well, they finally, guess somebody talked them into it, the Hard Rock, they opened a White House. And I went there. And it's the
real deal.
Yeah, it's you might as well be in there, because they know that's what people come for. So you can't go start putting like tomatoes on everything or whatever it happens to be. So I had a good time with that, and I had some very good fortune on the poker machines. I didn't do well in roulette. I only played that one because it was Death Valley. I didn't have enough money to be playing it, because in the Mr. Big Room, it's $100 minimum on the roulette table.
Wow.
I just didn't have enough money to stay with me. And but then I go back to the poker machines, and I had some luck. I got out alive, which is always a good thing.
So it was a success.
Yeah. Plus my friends come visit me and stay with me, and we're kind of, I don't know if we're weird, but if we all get together, the same ones, there'll be some different plug-ins here and there.
Surprise guests.
Yeah, but it's always us, and Monty, right?
Sure.
Yeah, and but Angie and Geraldine, these are.
I remember the names. I've heard the names many times.
We were children together, toddlers together, and we visit with each other. We stay in touch with each other. We talk to each other all the time. We used to love to go to a place called Louis, which was in Port Washington on Long Island. We would always go there because they had an attic, a private room. And then we would go over to the Landmark Theater, which is in Port Washington, because I'm a member. I'll tell you this story. Anyway, so they have a big Christmas show every year, and they didn't have it this year because Darlene Love was doing all these virtual shows and talk shows and everything else, but they couldn't have it because of the gathering.
Social distancing.
Yeah, you can't have gatherings.
Right.
But I started going there. A friend of mine told me about it. And Port Washington, if those of you don't know, it's like on the North Shore of Long Island. And I must have signed up as a member somewhere. So whenever I go, they give me a throne. Yeah. They put it in the back next to the heater, and they have 2 women who work there who go and get me my snacks and beverages or whatever else I want.
Do they bring you into the room like on the shoulder of buff men like Walter?
No, close. But I don't know how I got.
You don't know how you arrived at this honor.
Well, I think what happened was I signed up.
You signed somewhere,
and
something.
it was
yeah.
It was no, but it was I was one of the first by accident. Is really what happened. No, they treat me like a god.
Only
there.
you.
Yeah.
So the replacement trip was of course there's no.
Well, we always would top off that trip with a midnight run to Atlantic City.
Right. So I mean, there's no way.
AJ sends a fancy car up to take you down. So we get in the car and because all we do is talk, joke, make fun of it. Remember the time? This. So anyway. And plus, you could put 10 or 12 people in the,
right.
Those big silver.
The entourage.
Yeah. So, but they because of the social distancing, they didn't have the show.
Right. So
but Darlene Love's been performing everywhere else.
Right. But you did manage to catch her act. You did a cyber Darlene Love show, didn't you? Yeah.
I watched the virtual cyber, whatever you want to call it.
So while you can't really live up to being led around on a throne, but how was the coronavirus pandemic trip compared to? Was it okay?
Well, first of all, I got 84,000 masks because of at Here's Help. We get all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And different types and whatever, and plus we know all about it. I can't wait to get the shot. We're trying to get them to come to Here's Help and give everyone who's willing the shot. It's amazing to me, but I should know because I remember when I went through the polio trials and all the other stuff.
Yeah,
it's amazing to me how many misconceptions people have. They don't understand that when you get the shot, you're getting a minuscule dose of it.
Right.
So your body develops the antibodies to fight it off, and that's how you get you get over it.
Right.
Or you get inoculated and you don't have to worry about it. But you'd be shocked the amount of people that will refuse to take that needle.
Oh, listen, I have very close with someone, work very close with someone who is convinced that this whole business of vaccines is just a way for the government to put a chip in you.
Yeah.
And I just keep looking at this guy. I'm thinking, what makes you think the government cares about you? You're just another damn guitar player. Why would the government put a $1 million chip in you?
Well, you're right. They think it's a big conspiracy.
But
they think that it's all about money, and they don't really understand how these things are developed. I went through not only the polio, the smallpox. I had to get you may remember this. I was going abroad. By that, I was going to Europe and France, Germany, whatever it was. Mm-hmm. And I had to get a yellow book. And I had to go to Dr. Jaffe in North Miami Beach. And he had to give me every shot
I remember.
that they had in that book. And then he had a stamp. Mm-hmm. And when I got out of the plane in Paris, they asked for that book. Right. They should be doing that today.
Yeah, well, I'm sure.
And inoculations and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, I went through TB, I went through smallpox, chicken pox.
I think maybe that's why you and I have a better understanding of what this vaccine is all about, because we remember the polio era and all that,
and all the others,
and how it worked.
Yeah,
that's what you and I remember. Yeah. So that's I think not having lived through that, I think a lot of
people. You make a really good point. A lot of people are ill-educated and have misconceptions about that needle
and there's
going into your arm.
There's so much misinformation.
Yeah. Plus, with polio, I'm sure you remember, that went on for years.
Mm-hmm.
They were coming to my elementary school into junior high and finally in high school, where Dr. Salk figured it out or whatever he did. But we were getting those shots, and we got different needles. Then they had this thing that had like
big gun-looking thing.
Yeah, and then they had
the tank at the bottom.
Right. Well, that's the thing that shot had the prongs.
Yeah.
They'd shoot you with the prong. I don't remember them asking anybody.
No, there was no questions.
Any position of your life, parents, the authorities.
Any choice.
Shut up and get over there.
Stand in line.
Yeah, and here
roll up your sleeve.
Yeah. It was just unbelievable.
Well, I'm glad the trip went well.
Yeah, it was. And it's always a good time.
Appreciate the update.
My friends and I, you could put us in death row.
And
we're going to have a good time.
Right. I just assumed that given the pandemic and everything, there'd be some kind of major travel story or some kind of, your luggage got sent to Costa Rica.
No, I made it. I got in and out. Mm-hmm. I ate at Morton's every night because Morton's is not really part of Caesar's Palace. They rent the space.
Wow.
So I was eating at Morton's there. And I got to tell you something. The Atlantic City Morton's is the best Morton's there is. Like, the one in the Gables, the one in North Miami Beach, I think. They're good. But they're not like that one. That's interesting. You know what it is? That's their home.
I guess.
And they treat you like, and the food is phenomenal. So I didn't care. I had reservations every night. And I went in there and whatever. And then, but then, of course, went for the cheesesteak and some other stuff along the way.
Well, we're going to wrap up this podcast, and we want to, again...
He's hungry because I mentioned Morton's.
Talking about food. I'm going to go get something to eat now. We want to wish Chris/Nick good luck with his new employment. And
let's tell everybody who Nick is.
Well, he was a student, our client who went through the program here, and last week...
He's still living here.
He's still living here.
Yeah.
I interviewed him last week, and we talked in depth about how he got here. It's a heartbreaking story. It's amazing what he's managed to overcome to be where he is today, and it's due in no small part, I'm sure, to what has transpired in his life since he arrived here, and you and I have seen a major change.
He's definitely a different guy now.
Well, Footy, Merry Christmas to you, man. It's been a long time since we started working together, but we certainly have had a lot of fun, a lot of adventures, and I enjoy working with you. So best of luck in 2021, and we're looking forward to some great podcasts, and hope you have a great Christmas, and everyone at home too, and we'll talk again soon.
Same for everyone, and Feliz Navidad.
Thank you for listening to the Footy Podcast. To benefit, here's help. For more information about the Footy Podcast or Here's Help, contact us at 305-685-8201. If you need help or know someone who has a substance abuse or alcohol problem, you can call our admissions office at 305-685-8201, extension 224. If you'd like to make a cash donation to Here's Help and join the fight against drug abuse, call Footy at 305-685-8201, extension 227. The executive producer of the Footy Podcast is Sam Zacco, COO of Here's Help.